Mickey Mad World. Guess who's back for a third installment of the day? That's right, me, Coach Sess. Hey, this time around, I am taking a look at the MMA main event for Fight For It number 12, Gaffney, South Carolina, December 18th. It's Prince Ahmed Khamis taking on Kevin Peraza. I am a huge fan of Kevin Peraza. I don't mind that being known. I've been watching him before he got on his win streak, and I just thought something was there. Let me explain it. Kevin Peraza has lost fights, but he hasn't been finished. And there was a fighter on the Fight Lab circuit. This guy lost, I think, 3 or 4 fights in a row to guys who had 4 or 5 times more experience than him. And they were all by split decision. And it would be sometime later that I realized that the guy was no longer in the game. And I was thinking to myself, man, why didn't anybody take this guy under their wing? And because he probably would be great. This guy had no experience and he was losing fights by decisions. And when I saw Kevin Peraza, I said, man, this guy reminds me of that guy. You know, a guy who doesn't have everything yet. But if you tweak this here, give him the right opponent there, push him a little bit more here, you'll have a good guy in front of you. And when I started watching him just develop his skill sets inside of the cage, fight after fight, win, lose, or draw, you just always saw something a little bit different. And at Fight For It number 11, he didn't get a knockout, but the way he moved, I was like, he's going to get a knockout. He's going to get a knockout. And I do believe that in this particular upcoming fight against Ahmed Khamis, he may aim for that. He just might get it. I wouldn't say push it and pressure it, but he just might get it. And the thing that everybody knows, that he comes from Highest Stand MMA. He's a teammate of Ultimate Fighter winner Brian Battle. So everybody's going to expect him to grapple and to submit and be slick. You know, I don't see the fight going that way. I see Kevin Peraza winning the fight if it goes to the decision. And when I look at Ahmed from the last fight, he was gifted a present from the gods. I thought that Dylan Nelson won that fight. I thought he did enough to win that fight. But Ahmed won a split decision. I don't think you can win a split decision against Kevin Peraza. I think if you're going to beat Kevin Peraza, you have to beat him unanimously. You have to beat him definitively. You have to beat him, period. Point blank. You have to beat him. I don't think that that he has the full set of skills to do that. When you watch guys who can do that to Kevin Peraza, it's guys who can out grapple him, but more specifically, guys who can out wrestle him. And they use that wrestling pressure that comes from a wrestling room, that comes from time on the mat of holding guys down. I don't see Ahmed with that skill set. Coming out of 4M Fitness, he's going to be a little bit more well-rounded. He's got tons of experience. He's even fought better opponents than Kevin Peraza. But I think Kevin just has that little something extra when it comes to the clinch range and the boxing range. I think the kicks are going to be even. But in the clinch range and the boxing range, I think Kevin has that little something extra. And he's going to be able to put hands on Prince Ahmed, especially when he's up against the cage. Because a lot of people will look at the highest stand guys and they call them grapplers, but I say they're cage workers. And to me, the cage work is that not just a neutral area, but it's an undefined, it's an undiscovered territory. I think all the wrestlers, all the jiu-jitsu guys, boxers, all the Thai boxers, I think we're all trying to figure that out. We're still trying to figure out that cage work. It's not 100% that you've got a lock on that cage work. And there are certain teams out there who have seemed to figure some things out. Matter of fact, if you look at the most recent UFC, you can look at Charles Oliveira and you can see where he's got some things figured out along that cage. And I think Kevin Peraza is going to play the role of Charles Oliveira in this particular fight. So I look at Prince Ahmed, and I know that he's had some championship fights and he didn't win the belt. So he's got that experience. You know, he knows he can go. He knows he can go against the best competition out there. If we go to grappling, Kevin's the better grappler overall. But Prince Ahmed has done a really good job as of late defending. He defended against Dylan Nelson quite well in some of the grappling exchanges. Maybe not in that first round of the fight for number 11, where he was upside down in a cradle. But beyond that, he did a good job of getting back to his feet. He did a good job of letting his strikes go to get ahead. And somewhere the judges said, hey, this guy did enough to win. Output is going to be different. I think as long as there's no real grappling exchanges, you're going to see Kevin Peraza take the lead on the strikes overall. But he just needs to be careful because Prince Ahmed does have some really good kicks, but he doesn't have a great targeting system to go for the knockout. And that's going to help Kevin. And because you're dealing with a guy that has gone the distance every fight, win, lose, or draw, he's gone the distance, whereas Prince Ahmed has been finished. You know, Kevin has that experience of a veteran fighter. You know, so we could talk about, Prince Ahmed has more fights, but he doesn't exactly have more time inside of the cage. You can almost take Kevin's 5 fights to his 10 fights from MMA and almost equalize them. The reason that I like the boxing and the clinch work, because it's when I watch both guys, Kevin does a little bit better. He lands more strikes. He gets his volume up when he lets his hands go. In the last fight, you saw Prince Ahmed keep his punch volume down to about 17 strikes in the first and the third round, and about 20 to 25 strikes in the second round. And what kept that volume down was the grappling, was the clinching, was the contact work. And Kevin had that same problem in his fight against DT Mills, but it was one round. It was in the second round where he was kind of shut down and really didn't get any strikes off. But in the rounds 1 and 3, he could not only got his hands off, but he actually doubled output, if anything, that Hamed did that particular night. So if those are indicators, then I would expect that Kevin's going to come in and just really outwork this guy, whether it goes the distance or not. Every turn, every engagement, every footstep, every placement inside of that cage, Kevin Peraza wins this fight. Whether it be on the ground or whether it be in standing, Kevin's going to have that pop in his punch down to finish with strikes. I'm looking forward to be a great fight between Prince Ahmed Khamis and Kevin Peraza Blanco. I think it's going to be an excellent fight. That's Gaffney, South Carolina, December 18th at Fight For It number 12. I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.